The Community Science Institute is a nonprofit organization based in Ithaca, New York. We operate a state-certified water testing lab. In 2017, there were a lot of reports of harmful algal blooms on Cayuga Lake, and I think there was a lot of community concern about this kind of emerging threat. So far, there hasn't been too much research about treating harmful algal blooms on a lake-wide scale.
iGEM is a synthetic biology project team, so we're made up of about 35 undergraduates, and it's kind of cool because we're entirely student-led. Every year we come up with a new project idea to use synthetic biology to tackle some problem we see in the world.
It stands for International Genetically Engineered Machine. This year we were looking at algal blooms and the toxins that they produce, and we wanted to create a bacteria that dealt with these algal blooms.
So harmful algal blooms are these algal blooms that you see in lakes that tend to create a lot of issues. A lot of the times you get toxins produced that then interfere with drinking water supplies, recreational activities like fishing and swimming, boating, for example. And it ends up causing a lot of damage, both to the environment and to the economy of the areas that really depend on the local water bodies for businesses and as well as entertainment and recreation. So what we're trying to do today is we've grown cultures overnight and last week of the bacteria. And so now we're trying to actually enclose them in gel beads. And so those gel beads allow for water to flow in, allow for the toxins to flow in. And then the bacteria sit in the middle, and then at the center of that bead is where the reaction takes place, and your bacteria are detoxifying the water.
We got some in there. We got something.
Is there a bead? There's a bead.
It's a little big.
That's fine.
I think the main challenge we face every year is just getting things to work. Because biology, I mean, it's a science, but it's very unpredictable. So when something goes wrong, there's a lot of reasons why it could go wrong, and we don't necessarily know why unless we test every single step of the way. So a lot of wet lab is just trying to make something work and then going back and figuring out why, which is not only a time-consuming process, but it can be a little bit frustrating. Free her. When we went out into the community, we realized there was actually a very big problem here in Ithaca, in Cayuga Lake. So we thought it would be very impactful to have a project that would directly improve the lives and well-being of not just Cayuga Lake, but all the people who have a stake in the health of the lake.
So I mean, you can see right now how all of it's clumped at the top. So the vortexer vibrates a lot. It shakes the top of this table a lot, basically creating a vortex and allowing for mixing within the tube. So it's very simple. You can see it's starting to break up those clumps at the top. I feel like I can get rid of some of them, but not all of them. But I think that's fine. We built a hardware system, which was a boat. And in that boat, we included a sampling system that could automatically sample several points around a lake to then be used for rapid detection. Then on that boat, in addition to the sampling system, we had a bioreactor. In the bioreactor, we put our bacteria in these little beads, and then inside the beads, the bacteria could actually break down the toxins in the water.
There's a GPS here so that we can track the location as well. And there's also some voltage controllers in there too. And then there's two motors here with a servo that basically is how we're gonna move the boat itself. But right now the problem is the motors. All three motors are not turning on. This might be a problem because our controller isn't configured to it, or the wires are loose, but we still haven't figured it out. So.
Of collecting samples from like an actual lake that has had incidences of harmful algal blooms is to kind of test our system using real samples, because like we're trying to address an actual issue that people face up here in like the northern Cayuga region, just like upstate New York in general. There were reports like over the summer that came out where pets, like dogs, would go into the water and they would swim and then they would get like really sick or they would die because they ingest the toxin or get exposed to it. And then like humans also, if you like get into contact with it, it is harmful to human health. So that's why like the signs, like you have all these signs on the beaches that say like, you know, harmful algal bloom alert, like trying to discourage people from swimming.
These harmful algal blooms have an ecological impact. So they will often create what's called a dead zone. So when they bloom, they have that rapid increase in population, and then they die off. There's a consumption of the dissolved oxygen in the water, which can then lead to things like fish kills. We generally know the causes or the factors that promote harmful algal blooms on a lake. Things like nutrient loading into the lake, invasive species, rising water temperature, things like that. Nutrient runoff is one of those things that we do have the power to control, as opposed to water temperature or invasive species a little bit less so. So I think that, in my mind, the most effective way to address harmful algal blooms would be to address them from the bottom up. So starting by reducing nutrient runoff into lakes.
As a lead, it surprised me in a good way to see like everyone being so motivated. Like I felt like I didn't have to do anything to get people to come in. Like everyone just wanted to work on the project, and it was really rewarding to watch people grow, like, from someone who had never been in a lab before to these people who are like always in lab, like so like on top of everything.
Where we're looking now with this project is we're looking to continue to talk to community leaders and those involved with the algal bloom cleanup to try and further develop this idea and make it more and more robust.
We're very optimistic to see kind of our project hopefully become an actual solution that gets used to address this issue in our community.
During the competition, we were contacted by iGEM Entrepreneurship, and so they were interested in getting this into a working business, and so that might potentially be something that we look towards in the future.
I think I like to keep working at it, trying to get some of the things that we weren't able to get to work. I think something I hadn't realized was that this actually is a very big problem and there aren't many solutions to it. So I think that our idea has potential to do real physical good in the world, and I'd like to see where that takes us.